What if the Titanic didn't sink? Not because the iceberg missed it, because the Titanic missed the iceberg. Just 10 seconds earlier. No collision, no screams, no lifeboats. The Titanic reaches New York, and everyone goes home. Sounds like the perfect ending. It might have been the beginning of something much worse. April 14th, 1912. The Titanic is moving through the freezing Atlantic. Then the lookout sees it. An iceberg. He sounds the alarm. The ship turns, but the iceberg is already dangerously close. In our timeline, it scrapes the Titanic's side, but imagine the ship turns just a few seconds earlier. The iceberg passes, the Titanic survives, and here's where our story changes. The passengers don't know they just escaped one of history's greatest disasters. They simply continue to New York. The newspapers celebrate the ship, the passengers praise the crew, and the Titanic becomes even more famous. But then comes the question, why was the iceberg spotted so late? The Titanic's lookouts were watching the ocean without binoculars. A key to the binocular locker had been left behind by an officer who was removed before the voyage. Would binoculars definitely have saved the ship? No. But they might have helped. The night was almost perfect for hiding an iceberg. No moon, almost no wind, and almost no waves. Normally, waves crashing against an iceberg make it easier to see. That night, the ocean looked like black glass. By the time the iceberg appeared, there wasn't much time left. And then something even stranger happened. The crew tried to avoid the iceberg. But what if that was the wrong decision? A head-on collision sounds like the worst possible outcome, but Titanic's bow was heavily reinforced. Some historians and engineers have argued that a direct collision might have damaged the front of the ship severely, while leaving enough of it afloat to survive. Instead, Titanic turned. The iceberg scraped along the side, and multiple compartments were damaged. Water began entering the ship. The bow sank lower, and eventually, the Titanic was doomed. So think about that. The maneuver designed to save the Titanic may have helped destroy it, but in our timeline, none of this happens. The Titanic survives, and that creates a much bigger problem. After Titanic sank, the world changed maritime safety rules. More lifeboats, continuous radio watches, ice patrols, stricter international regulations, but remove Titanic from history. And why would governments make those changes? They probably wouldn't. Instead, Titanic arrives in New York as a triumph. The idea that giant ships are almost impossible to sink becomes even stronger. Shipping companies continue pushing speed and capacity. Passengers trust the technology. And then imagine another ship. Years later, sailing through dangerous waters. Maybe it's carrying more people. Maybe it has fewer lifeboats. Maybe its radio operator isn't listening. And maybe there is another iceberg. This time, nobody has learned the lesson. Of course, we can't know what would really happen. Maybe another disaster never occurs. Maybe safety technology improves anyway. But that's what makes this scenario disturbing. The Titanic's sinking didn't just kill people. It forced the world to ask questions nobody wanted to ask. How many lifeboats should a ship carry? How should ships navigate ice fields? Why wasn't radio communication treated as essential? Those questions were answered because Titanic sank. So if Titanic survives, who asks them? Maybe nobody. Until another ship pays the price. And that is the strangest possibility. Maybe Titanic's greatest contribution to history wasn't the ship itself. It was the warning left behind by its destruction. So here's the question. If you could go back to 1912 and make Titanic survive, but you knew that doing so might cause a much larger disaster years later, would you save the Titanic? Or would you leave history exactly as it happened? Tell me your answer.